Hello everyone, I am Russ Frushtick. I am joined by Justin McElroy, and we have a very special day for you because it is the end of E3 day one, but not really because E3 has sort of been going on for the last 3 days anyway.
It lasts for 3 months.
But this is what we call day one. Justin, how are you feeling after day one? I'm really tired because it's been 3 days.
I don't get tired, Russ.
No?
No, I'm a big tough guy, and I don't get tired.
Really?
Because of my long residency and my position as a co-founder of the site, and the fact that the boss likes me, I don't do much in terms of the actual work of the. I'm more of a creative.
Okay.
Type, you know.
Sure. A lot of couches, a lot a resting.
Mm-hmm. Naps.
Okay.
Naps aplenty.
Naps. So you didn't see any video games the last few days?
No. There were some. I caught up with some magazines.
Yeah. Okay.
That I've been meaning to read.
Any good ones?
Game Informer.
Love Game Informer.
Yeah, love Game Informer. They're great.
Well, guess what? I wanted to talk about some video games because I saw some press conferences and all that stuff. And I kind of wanted to get your take as well as someone else's take on who won press conference day.
Okay.
I guess multiple days, right?
Okay.
Because it was Sunday and then Monday. So who had the very best?
Who won?
Press conference across everyone, and we've brought in a very special guest to discuss that very special topic, Mr. Chris Grant. Welcome.
Well, welcome to the show, big man.
Wow, great welcome. Thank you.
Chris Grant, no nuance. Who won? Who lost? Who should be fired out of a cannon?
I think
That's our 3 rankings that we have.
I think everyone kind of knows I think the broad consensus. Sony won.
Right.
Again.
Right.
And I think in terms of who should be fired out of cannon, I think there's a line, and I think there's probably going to be a little bit of jostling for who gets to get shot out first.
Right.
I think Ubisoft probably going to get shot out of a cannon.
Really?
I disagree.
Yeah, I don't know about that. That's interesting.
Wait, okay, let me ask you this. We should qualify this.
Okay.
Are we counting Nintendo?
Nintendo didn't really have a press conference. They essentially just turned the cameras on for 12 hours and showed the same area of Zelda for a very long time.
Trapped these poor Nintendo employees Phantom Zone-like in one area of Zelda and let them never return to
Well, there was
the
also a
world.
TED Talk about Pokemon for about an hour that everyone had to watch.
I will say this: you guys are going to get to Zelda. I'll say this as somebody who I had cats named Lincoln Zelda. Loved the Zelda franchise. Man, I have not enjoyed the last 10 years of Zelda games.
Yeah.
Super didn't like.
Well,
them.
come on, the 3DS game was good.
The 3DS one was excellent.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of ones that I really did not like.
Yeah.
And so they made a Zelda game that, like, the stuff I've been complaining about Zelda games for years, like Zelda 1 was mysterious and weird, and you didn't hold hands and you just let them do it. And that's like what was so exciting to me as a kid. Dark Souls gives me that, but like Zelda games are like, hey, you got a butterfly. Hey, you got another butterfly. Do you know how butterflies work? Like, I'm gonna throw this game out a window.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're making a game for me again.
Well, let's do a rundown for people that maybe have forgotten or blanked it out of their heads. All the companies that had press conferences, and we are not counting the PC Gamer Show because that's not a company. We have the EA press conference. That was the first presser.
Checked it off. Very iterative, I would say.
Well, not only that, EA went on for like extended periods of time about games that won't arrive for another 5 years.
Yeah,
like a bunch of Star Wars stuff that we won't see for a while.
Yeah,
I still think that stuff's exciting. I see, a little sneak peek at an X-Wing VR game, right? Like a little sneak peek at Visceral Star Wars game, and like that stuff's awesome.
It's just dudes working at a computer. That's not a sneak peek.
This is Russ and this is our new rule that we decided during our stream. Like, if your trailer at any point includes a shot of somebody working at a computer, you're not ready to show your game.
Unless it's like a hacking game and people actually have in the game have to work at computers. I think that's allowed.
Save it for the special features.
So speaking of hacking games, I think I think Ubisoft let some of the wind out of its sails, and they had a long press conference. Went over
2 hours.
Yeah, I think Watch Dogs.
Crazy.
That's maybe a part of my frustration with it because I see press conferences that go on forever, and I'm just like, oh, enough. But they also, I think they actually had a pretty strong Watch Dogs 2 showing last week.
Yeah.
On a Twitch reveal. Watch Dogs 1 is a game that I would have gladly put into a cannon and launched into the sun.
Yeah, not a good
Did
game.
not expect Watch Dogs 2 to be impressive, and that reveal that they did on Twitch was really impressive.
Yeah.
And so, like, the fact that that wasn't at their press conference, I think, took some of the wind out of it.
It wasn't their press conference.
No, I mean that it wasn't revealed there.
Sure.
Oh,
Took
that
some of the
would've
wind
been
out of
big.
it.
Yeah, but they had their own little special day where
like
everyone was
some
just
stuff.
focused on that. I understood the logic behind it. I think Ubisoft, without a doubt, stole the show just because of their opening number.
Which is fantastic. An awesome dancing clown French circus.
There was a giraffe at one point.
Yeah, you love that.
Clowns, all in favor of Just Dance. And Justin and I were talking after we were watching. It's like, you look at all the other opening to all these other projects. It's like, here's our sizzle reel of badass stuff that we're putting out, and then Ubisoft has a bunch of people skipping on stage and grooving out.
God, so
It's so great.
I will say this about Ubisoft. They still have HTL coming every year, doing a great job, and like there's a levity to
Best.
it.
Like literally every host, including all the CEOs and everybody, the best person doing this today.
Spoiler alert: she's better at hosting than a bunch of CEOs.
Yeah.
Well,
big
yeah,
shock.
that shouldn't be a surprise, but it is certainly an irregularity if you look at all like tech
But
keynotes
think about
across
how
the
long
world.
it took Ubisoft to get to that point. They had Jamie Kennedy.
Oh, yeah.
Host their.
They Joel McHale, who did a decent job, but he seemed to keep the whole thing at arm's
Yeah.
reach. They had Mr. Caffeine. Like, if you want to point at somebody.
Wow, that was a treat. Yeah, I mean, I think Ubisoft just went on too long. I think that they had some good stuff in there, and then they filled it way too much and really just like outstayed.
The longest press conference out of all of them.
Yep.
Pretty amazing.
Unless you count the Big N. Unless you count Nintendo.
Yeah, I wouldn't actually count the Big N in that group. We haven't mentioned Bethesda, which we kind of skipped right by.
Yeah.
Bethesda
Chris skipped it.
did not have a ton of stuff to show, but Quake was a surprise.
I disagree. I mean,
You think they had a ton of stuff to show?
They had a lot more concrete stuff than EA.
Oh yeah,
did.
that's true.
I mean, like, Quake was new.
Quake was brand new. No one expected it.
Dishonored was a huge demo that I didn't watch because
I don't want to be spoiled on Dishonored. I'm sure it was very lovely.
Did it look good?
Yeah, it looked really good.
Yeah.
Bethesda had
We had Dishonored 2, as you mentioned, Prey.
Prey.
So it was the reboot of Prey.
Prey looks really, really interesting, and it's a game that like even almost less so than Prey 2 has nothing to do with Prey. I don't know why they have the name.
Prey-O-Shock.
Yeah, it's like okay, you bought
Like that Prey-O-Shock, Justin?
I'm just going to let it.
Okay.
They bought the IP a while ago, and like it's been such a troubled project getting this thing made, and they finally have a game that looks good. And they're like, well, we got to use this name for something.
I don't know if they have a game that looks good, though. That wasn't a game. What we saw was not a game.
Yeah, no.
It looked pre-rendered, and
it was very target rendered.
Yeah.
I like the vibe, though. I mean,
It looked
cool.
cool.
I like what they were
cool
going
vibe.
for.
Kind of like a Total Recall thing. It wasn't
like
crazy.
a weird, like half Solaris, half Groundhog Day kind of vibe.
Oh, yes.
Beginning, which,
Yeah,
like,
for
man,
sure.
That's,
Yeah.
Speaking my language.
And they had that ESO card game, which is a thing.
Yeah.
And I believe, there's a little bit of news here and there.
They had some cool VR announcements. Fallout 4 in VR in 2017 on HTC Vive.
Yeah, we hopefully will have some folks that are out now, and not today, but tomorrow we'll have some folks on that have actually played Fallout VR as well as some of the other VR experiences.
Skyrim HD.
Skyrim HD, which is cool. You know, I'm due for more Skyrim.
Yeah. Todd Howard said later on Jeff Keighley's interview show that they are making an Elder Scrolls 6. It will be the year 2022.
Yeah.
He was joking, I think. I don't think he was serious.
No, you're serious?
Serious.
Oh no. So long.
Todd.
Typical Todd Howard. Have we hit all the... Oh, and we haven't even talked about Sony yet, which I think we all agree.
Microsoft. Microsoft was first.
Oh, Microsoft. Okay, you're right. So Microsoft is a weird one because while we were watching it, our stream cut out. So we missed a large chunk of it. So we're relying on you, Chris Grant,
So
to fill in
Microsoft
some of
actually
the
did a
blanks.
really good job. I think that they have a very hard message to get out there, which is that they announced a new version of an existing console, and then another new version of an existing console that won't be out until next year. And like, I think it's a tough message to communicate. There's the Xbox One S, which is a smaller version of the Xbox One, but it actually also has new features. It comes with a new controller. It has 4K video. It has HDR video support. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It'll also make better resolutions and
it can help your games run better.
Yeah.
Not necessarily at higher resolution, but it'll help them keep their frame rate. And some games will also regulate their resolutions if they need to. It'll keep the frame rate higher.
We'll see. We'll see. That is what they're saying,
That's
but
what
I'm
they're
a little
saying,
skeptical
at least
of
for
that.
Gears 4. And then there's Scorpio,
Yeah.
which they announced this year for release next fall. And like, that's a really weird...
Did they say fall?
They said next year.
I cannot I literally can't fathom the consumer who is like, I'm gonna buy. Yeah, this is the moment before I know what the other thing is or how much it costs or anything. This is but I do know it is coming.
Now, I think there's a casual audience that maybe will go for the cheaper box, like now, maybe.
But dropping the price on the boxes.
Yeah.
But if you're somebody who has waited this long, like you're obviously not just waiting on a price drop. Like you're probably also waiting to see like how things pan out. And until you see what like the support looks like in a Scorpio world, like why would you hop on now?
I'd say counterpoint. If you're waiting to see how things pan out, I think that that ship done sailed. You're going to get a PlayStation.
Well, okay.
I think they need to get back some of their leadership position, or at least a claim to a leadership position. And so I think they absolutely understand, and in some ways it's a really smart move, that the S is important to getting them there, but even more important is Scorpio. They need to have a box that is competitive. And I think the Xbox One might have had some big ideas in it, including Kinect as a big idea. The Xbox One S doesn't even have a Kinect port.
Womp womp.
You can get a $50 adapter if you don't have a Kinect. Now, obviously, if you have a Kinect, they'll give you an adapter for free. But like, I don't think they expect anyone to go out there and buy a Kinect and hook it up to their Xbox One S.
You ever wonder what the bottom of an Avatar shoe looks like? Now you'll never know. That secret has been relocked for time.
So I think Microsoft.
Where is the software for Microsoft? Where would you say Gears is obviously a big exclusive for them.
Yep.
Forza was another exclusive they showed off.
Halo Wars 2.
Halo Wars 2, which I don't know that is a huge exclusive, but maybe people care.
They also announced this Xbox Play Anywhere initiative, which is it's sort of related to the Scorpio.
Sure.
This idea that your games are persistent. They're persistent not only across Xbox One, One S, and Scorpio, but also persistent to Windows 10.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I think, they have a lot to prove here with that idea. If that idea works, this is Microsoft as a software company putting software first and platforms first. Microsoft's been making consistent software platforms for decades. Sony hasn't been.
Yeah.
And I think this is a way for them to really make a claim and kind of carve a path of their own that Sony won't be able to match.
Yeah.
And they started doing this with Xbox 360 back compat. And now if that kind of also moves into Xbox One games, being forwards compatible with Scorpio games, being compatible with your Windows, and maybe even Windows games backwards onto console, they're creating an ecosystem play.
Yeah.
That's like, for me, as somebody who in the last 4 years has moved over to PC gaming almost exclusively, in large part because the new consoles got announced and said, hey, your old games won't work. Sorry. And it's like, I spent thousands of dollars on those games.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
I think that's a big deal, and I think like that to me really resonates. But they got to do it,
right?
Like,
yeah,
I think there's still a lot of stuff.
Especially after the big f up of Xbox One, they need to. You can't just assume.
And then sort of almost the flip side, an inverse of what we saw with Microsoft. You see Sony, which is just talking games. They're not talking about new hardware. They're talking about the games that they have coming. And for me, for my like personal what I get excited about while I'm watching a press conference, that's the kind of thing that gets me excited. We saw God of War.
Yeah.
Which, okay, if you told me I was going to be that impressed and enthused about a new God of War game,
it looked super wicked.
It looked awesome.
Again, we were talking about how do you reboot a franchise and make it interesting and make it feel like something different? And we saw that Gears demo, Gears 4, which looked fine and okay, but it was Gears, very familiar, very looked. But you look at this God of War game, and it doesn't look like anything God of War like.
God of War. So they made me care about God of War game, which I played the first one, I liked it a lot, and that was it. Good. So good job there. There was they also had Resident Evil 7.
Yep.
Which wow, you made Resident Evil interesting again. Shortcut to my heart, make it like PT. All right, you got me.
Now, Capcom probably made it interesting again, but still.
Yes, but but Sony had a press conference where they were almost reclaiming some of this, but back to Sony.
And then this game is totally.
They first showed it off.
Resident Evil 7.
Resident Evil 7, which looks fantastic. We played the demo today. It was very, very.
There's
cool.
a video actually on our Facebook of Justin playing it in a spooky dark room. And he got scared.
It was a little spooky at the end.
Horizon Zero Dawn, though, they showed off at E3 last year. They showed off a much bigger demo this year, and it looks amazing. It literally looks amazing, just visually, and it's finally it makes me feel so good that the team at Guerrilla is able to put their obvious talents into something that I actually want to look at.
And also big VR stuff from Sony.
Tons of VR stuff.
The Batman VR thing, whatever that may be. The Star Wars VR, Criterion level for Star Wars for VR. Final Fantasy in VR, which okay, you know, sure, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
And even Resident Evil 7 can be played in
VR.
Sure.
Fully VR, which is rad. This looked great.
It just felt like there was no dead time during that Sony press conference. It was like, okay, enough already. Let's move on.
I'll tell you what they didn't have. They didn't have and now let us tell you about our TV studio that's making Powers in 20 minutes.
Right.
It was like
smart.
It was a
lot of these companies feel like they have an onus to like give every section their little credit, but Sony knows you're making an entertainment hour or 2 hours, whatever it is. Make it all peak level. Don't just make your.
I want to talk about my 2 favorite parts.
Okay.
One, Sean Layden comes back on stage and they give him the Crash Bandicoot shadow.
Yes.
It's just like it's a level of showmanship.
Justin got so excited about Crash Bandicoot. He lost his mind.
I don't even like Crash Bandicoot games that much.
It was so cool.
So it's well. That's like finger on the pulse. Like that is exactly what people like in their darkest corners of their discussion. Like you don't think. It couldn't be Crash Bandicoot. That's great. I love seeing that the respect for your history and the awareness of that sense of nostalgia is really cool.
I also liked I think the big finale. Although it was actually I think there's an interesting finale for Sony's, but the big finale was the announcement of Stranding.
Right. The new Kojima project, which had an absolutely bizarre, fantastic teaser video.
So amazing.
This was the one misstep, and that Russ and I were like obsessed with that Sony had in the press conference. They get Kojima out on stage, right? Make a glowing pillar of light for him to descend down like an angel of video games.
Yeah,
and he's
amazing.
like, Death Stranding, my boy Norman Reedus. And Norman Reedus like floats down on a crane. He's like, what's up? I'm in it too. And
I just had a baby.
I just had a baby. I'm like, and everybody's losing their mind. Like, this is the best. And then they're like, Spider-Man PS4. And for me, I was like, oh shit, they saved the best for last. I understand not everyone is going to feel that way.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then they did a gameplay demo. It's like, guys, that's not
They
even closer.
had their encore. Like that was where you walk out, you drop your mic on that.
So I'm sure that look at the Spider-Man.
The
Spider-Man looks very cool.
So good. And not just good for Spider-Man, it's good for what it represents. It represents Marvel's talking a lot about a move back into games.
Making real games.
And trying to reclaim like real actual games, which is awesome.
Especially if you're my age, you remember like Marvel used to have like the best arcade games. You go to the arcade and just play Captain America, play X-Men. That finale felt like me after the whole entire show. This great show. They also had Days Gone. Premiere the new Sony Ben game. And at the end of all this big thing, they're like, okay, now we're gonna just show you this gameplay demo for 5 minutes. It just felt like such a downer, and Arthur tweeted.
It looked good, like it looked really cool. It's just like
just was not the right pacing.
That's not your pacing.
Arthur tweeted is like, this is the spot where they took their next gen console reveal out. Like,
wow. Oh yeah, well maybe that could be it.
But still, you just
switch
switch
for the Neo was. Yeah, it was weird.
It
was a weird choice. Chris, thank you so much for joining us. Clearly, we've declared Sony the winner, and everyone else
Sony.
Can be shot out of a cannon.
Congratulations, everybody. Sean Layden, everybody. Congratulations. Your trophy is in the lobby.
Good work,
Congratulations, Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Bye.